So I interviewed Spider Loc a while back, and he had mentioned that a common question people would always ask is like, would you fuck with Suge Knight? Because he had the reputation.
Out, and I remember the hot news on the actual news on television was Suge Knight is going to be released from prison soon. And I can remember telling people, when he get out, I'm going to make sure I meet him in 30 days. When that nigga Suge get out, I'm going to make sure I meet him in 30 days. Because I remember it was a common question at that time for people just to ask you, hey, would you fuck with Suge? And I knew it was technically the wrong answer, but I used to always say, hell yeah. Even though you would be like, man, that's Suge Knight, and everything you would see from afar, that's just that's the way I face everything in my life, So it's like, hell yeah, I do it, fuck it. So,
were there any situations that like the death row reputation ever stopped any business from happening?
Not knowingly, I'm sure it did. I'm sure some people didn't want any dealings with that, or especially when Suge went into custody, it was easy. That was an easy draw. But prior to that, I'm sure it was, but we don't know of any. Suge didn't need anybody. He had one of the biggest machines in the business, Jimmy Iovine.
Right.
They were hitting home runs. Jimmy was his guy. He eventually became Dre guy, and who eventually was Eminem and 50 Cent guy. Fergie. So many people that was up under Jimmy. But Jimmy, Suge saved Jimmy. Their company was about to be bankruptcy until he brought the Chronic over there. The only thing they had at that was Marky Mark. They didn't even have Tupac yet. Well, they were living off Marky Mark, that close to going bankruptcy. But Chronic saved them. But, Jimmy kept building and building and building, and they both looked out for each other.
At one point, Puffy and Suge were cool. What was that like?
Well, they were cool. They were, what it was like, they used to talk, and it's really started when Puffy was just like a worker for Andre Herrero, which was running Uptown Records. And Puffy was like Mary J. Blige, when they had just did the 411 album, and Jodeci's, guy, producer or whatever, or, helping out. Devontae did all the Jodeci stuff. But he was like the intern, the music, or the A&R probably, for Andre Herrero at Uptown Music. He eventually took and branched out and took Craig Mack to Arista, where Clive Davis ended up giving him a deal for Craig Mack, but he, not knowing that Biggie was going to, ultimately become his biggest star. But that's how that breakup happened. But Puffy was cool at Uptown. Suge was managing and had a relationship with Andre Herrero, and because of the, managing Mary J. and Jodeci. And so that's where that relationship come from. And Puffy, was in your face, seemed like a genuinely cool dude. I just think the image that he portrays is something like Snoop, or just a fake ass nigga behind scenes.
Puffy asked Suge for some advice about the feds?
Yeah. Like I said, they done had plenty of meetings. I know of an incident where we went up to Bad Boys Records. One time we was on the way to the airport, and Puffy called Suge and was like, hey man, can you come by my office? I need to holler at you about something. It's real important. And so we canceled our flight, because I think we was on our way to, we was either going to Pittsburgh to see Sam Snead or North Carolina to hang out with Casey and JoJo. I remember it was just a little short flight, because we eventually just rebooked it and caught another flight later on. But we went up to the office, and Puffy was like, man, Suge, how you got the feds off of you, man? They follow me like crazy. They on my ass. And, Suge gave him some drama, told him something. It probably didn't make no sense, or there wasn't any truth to it. And he was like, yeah, man, whatever, I need to do it because they on my ass. And so they had a mutual, relationship and respect like that. Then December of '95, there was a fight, and we have Club 662 going at that time. And Suge, Biggie was hot, '95. I mean, he was like hot. And it wasn't even December of '95 because Pac was around October '95. So it had to have been sometime like early '95, early part of '95. March maybe '95, something like that. There was a Tyson fight. And we was having Club 662 open, because that's the only time Club 662 open, was doing Tyson fight nights that Friday and that Saturday night. And so Suge was like, hey, Puff, Biggie, can you get Biggie coming to perform at the club? And Puff was like, yeah, well, I want The Door or something like that. And Suge was like, The Door, shit, this is my club. I only open it, a couple of nights a week. I mean, a couple of nights a year, really. And man, I'll give you a fee. I mean, I'll get y'all some rooms and look out for y'all, but we boys, And Puffy, kind of wanted, he wanted to. So he was like, oh, fuck that. I'll get the Dog Pound or somebody to perform. Because you got to remember, Pac wasn't with us yet. So he had a bad taste in his mouth about that. Like fuck Puffy or something like that. By that time, I think he was messing around with Misa, Puffy baby mama and stuff like that. And so, he was doing some creepy shit then. Sometime in '95. And so Mary J, though, and Misa was real tight. And so Mary J and Misa was real tight. So they used to always hang around. And Mary J and KC and them, they were, Jodeci or, KC and definitely JoJo was always around us. We went to New York or when they came to LA.
And KC at that time was being with Mary J.
Mary J and KC was together. And not only were they together, they had a baby. Well, no, they didn't have a baby. But they were together.
Right.
And so she was always around. And so, she was coming around and Suge somehow,
How did they meet? Is that how they met?
Oh, yeah. Mary J, just coming around and Mary J made the introduction. This was before the Source Awards.
Okay. And Puffy already had a baby by her.
He already had a baby. I think it was Justin, the son Justin. One time we went out to New York for something, and her and the son flew back with us to LA, and she was staying out there with us in LA for a bit, and then Puffy mama actually called. It was like, hey, Puffy's out here tripping. Matter of fact, I think he split his wrist behind it, tried to commit suicide. They say he split his wrist doing something else, but the rumor that we always got, and what Misi always told us, this nigga out here, this bitch ass nigga tried to kill himself. And so that's when then Pac, once he, Pac reached out to him sometime in like maybe August or July of '95. So at that point, now Pac telling him how, man, if I sign your label, I'm going to destroy Bad Boy Records and Biggie and
So he's
Puffy.
saying this in jail.
In jail. He had this mindset in prison that, because I'm hearing shit in here. Well, these motherfuckers had something to do with while I got shot. Them motherfuckers set me up. This is Pac mentality from what he's hearing inside of the walls. And he's pissed. And so he told Suge before he came home, this is what I'm about. And this is how I'm going to get down. Once Pac was telling Suge that he's coming home, he's riding on Bad Boy, he's going to destroy them as a record label and their crew, he was like, so if you want me still to sign with you, let's make this happen. So Suge's statement at the Source Awards, see, most people don't know, we had just got confirmation that the pill bond was going to work, and they were starting the legal process of getting Pac released on the appeal bond. And this is like August 3rd or something of 1995. Pac didn't end up getting out until like October of '95. But y'all know how slow the justice system works. Right. And so it was taking this long for the appeal bond and everything to work out. But Pac and Suge had pretty much agreed in principle that he's gonna be with Death Row. That's why Suge went and had a poster, a big old cardboard poster of Pac, a picture of Pac that he placed in the cell on the video. When he was letting everybody know that Pac is on death row now. And that's why he made the statement starting to diss Bad Boy Records at the Source Awards, because he was starting to show Pac how he had his back with the war against Bad Boy Records.